Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this IP Day webinar Wednesday. I'm June Rollin. I hope today finds all of you well and safe. Today's webinar, we are going to focus on the job search tools of MyCareerShines. As you all know, MyCareerShines is Florida's state-supported online education and career planning system. But today we're going to really target in on one specific area, which is building a resume. So today I'd like to introduce Maggie Miller, who will be facilitating our webinar today. We ask all of you to ask your questions through the Q&A option that you have. You know, you are all in listen only mode. So ask your questions, we'll address them throughout the presentation. The presentation today is recorded like all IP Day webinars, and they're archived and will be available within 48 hours. So enjoy the webinar. I know I'm going to learn a few things about building a better resume, so I'm going to turn it over to you now, Maggie. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, June. I'm so glad to be here, and welcome to all who are joining us. Today, I'm going to present a special section of MyCareerShines, which is just the resume builder. Before we do that, I'd like to give you some little bit of background. If you've heard of MyCareerShines, just to let you know where you can actually access our resume builder as well. My name's Maggie Miller, and I right now I'm covering 60 out of 67 districts in Florida, training school counselors and advisors, teachers all over Florida, and how to access and use MyCareerShines. We are powered by the company Cooter Incorporated, which I actually work for Cooter, but we have a state contract, and our state contract's branded name is MyCareerShines. I'm a certified career advisor, and coming to you also with a global career development facilitator credential as well. Taught 16 years in Polk County, Florida, so I come from the classroom like many of you as well. I want to let you all know, if you're joining us from the 7 districts in the bottom part of the state, we have a trainer dedicated for that area. Her name is Paula. You might want to maybe take a screenshot of this so you have her email if you want to reach out for MyCareerShines training. And there's my email as well. So really, MyCareerShines really encompasses what we call the career planning process. And in order to build a lifelong career portfolio, this process is used to help people figure out what they want to be, or what occupation they want to be in, or what job they'd like to be in. So we work on assessments, we explore occupations and majors, we help people plan for education, plan for work, and ultimately finding that job. So if you're interested in deeper training for MyCareerShines, I will be able to provide you with that. Again, we are focusing on the resume today. So MyCareerShines, we just want you to know that this is a shared service funded through the Florida legislature. So we support all residents in the state of Florida in career awareness and readiness. And for the adult education world, or people who serve adults in education, the system is being used all over the state to help them with that process. So basically what I'm going to do is slide over to my training account, and we will go right to the resume builder. So what I've just transitioned to is the website where you can actually build your own. We can talk about that later, but you can actually build your own account and use our resume builder. I'm moving into my sample account as we go through this webinar though. Okay, one more time. This is not a training on how to use the system. That we can provide later. Within MyCareerShines, once people have taken their assessments and start to explore, if you'll notice this left-hand menu, we have all kinds of resources. We have things to do in MyCareerShines, and you can take a peek at the menu items here, but we're going to focus on My Portfolio items. So once students have their accounts set up, they can actually use our job search tool menu item. So I'm clicking here on My Job Search Tools. Today, I'm not only going to show you how to build a resume within the system, but I'm also going to show you how to build an actual resume with some content. Although our focus is not references and cover letters today, I do just want to show you quickly that when you do click on references, there are going to be fillable fields, and this is just an example. So students that are using the system can actually fill in these spaces to create their references, and they can add as many as they like. There's just a couple of samples there. On Cover Letter Builder, although we're not focusing on cover letters, I do want you to know that there is a template to create a cover letter, and it also it's a fillable form. So here's the template here. And then what's unique about it is when people click on the examples, it tells them within each paragraph what ought to be included. So that's very handy, nice built-in support there. And then when you go to preview, we organize it and put the letter together in the format that's appropriate. But our focus on My Job Search Tools is our resume builder. So I click on resumes. Now, I use this in training a lot, so I have started a few here, but it just is an example of how you could build as many resumes as you like. Before I move on, I would like to say that people who might build more than one resume may want to have just a resume for general work experience, or if they would like to add another resume on some special skills. I think about people who are musicians, maybe in the music world, or that have been in the military, or any kind of special skill that they want to highlight in a resume focused on special skills. But to create a new resume, you simply click on Create a New Resume. And this is our template. The first thing that you would like to do, that we recommend that you do, is give it a name. Again, if it's a general work resume, you just may want to use a first and last name. But if it's specific to a certain talent, you may want to give it a name and then that clue word. Here, I'm going to just give it a name. This is Jane Smith. And the next section that you see is a choice of chronological or functional. For this example today, I am going to use chronological, but I will tell you that a functional resume is used for people who want to focus on skills. And I always think about like the stay-at-home mom that may have a 10-year gap in her work experience. And that type of person may want to focus on a functional resume and where the skills are highlighted. But for this example, we are going to focus on chronological. That would be a resume that moves through time. Okay, so then you get a choice of a style. And you're not locked into this. You can change this when you go to preview later. I happen to have a preference for elegant, and we'll see that a little bit later. Okay, so we've got, now keep in mind that when a person registers for their MyCareerShines account, these spaces are actually filled in for them. So although I named that Jane Smith, maybe I should be consistent there. Okay, so that pulled the data off of my registration. That's why the email is there. You can add your own phone number. Okay, and then you can check display the address on my resume. I do want that. We recommend, especially when I work with, well, I recommend it all the time, to use a city and state rather than a full address. And that's just a little protection for people because this is electronic, people will know how to reach you in the event that they want to hire you for that job with your phone number or your email address. So it's just a little security recommendation to leave off the actual entire address, but the city and state will work. Now, underneath that section are the sections that you can add to your resume. And I am going to go through and actually create or begin a resume so you can see this example and kind of drop in some added ideas or suggestions. Okay, so the sections of the resume start with the summary. Now, what I'd like to show you about the summary or share with you about the summary is it's not required, but many resumes these days use summaries instead of objectives. And what a summary is, it's really a short overview statement reviewing a skill set for a specific job. And we also recommend that when you tweak these resumes, you should be using the language that you see in the actual job application. So, you know, this would be very specific for a job. My example here is going to be, I am looking for a job. Outback Steakhouse actually has an opening. So I want to showcase my skills as a server. So the summary that I might write for that is, and I'll talk to you about the way that it's worded and phrased after I type it. So here I go. Okay, so I misspoke a minute ago. I'm going after a job at Outback. I am a server with experiences. This shouldn't be very long. It should highlight some skills that you have. I'm a passionate, enthusiastic server dedicated to providing optimal dining experiences. So it should be general in nature, not using the word I. And that sometimes is the challenge here. So there's an example of a summary. So what you do in our system is you click Save Summary. Notice what happened. Now I can edit, and now the section is gray. So I can go in, tweak it, change it, or edit it. Now it's part of my resume. The next section is work experience. So I am going to talk about some work experience that I've had, and the company that I worked for is Outback. Maybe I'm looking for a job at a fine dining, moving out of that Outback space and with those large chains and going into more of a dining experience. I want to highlight those skills. So the company I worked for was Outback. Okay, my title was server. The location, I'll just put where I'm from. My start date was, let's see, November of 2017. So we want you to use our drop-down menus. And here, the next space is, there could be an end date, but I'm just going to suppose I'm looking for more of that fine dining job out there, and I'm not going to leave Outback until I find it. So I'm going to click until present. Now for the work duties, excuse me, I had to take a sip. For the work duties, what you want to do here is explain in paragraph form, what is it that you did, not using the word I, and you could approach this in two different ways. I'm going to show you the first way. My demonstration will be in paragraph form. If you prefer a bulleted list, you will simply use your asterisk, and then you would type in your work duties in your, by bullets. I'm going to demonstrate using paragraph form. So watch as I type, and then we'll talk about what to include in that paragraph. If you'll notice, I just made a mistake, and it will catch it and allow you to repair that mistake as you go along. Almost done here. Whoops. Looks like I have a spelling error. Oh, there we go. That was a good demonstration of how to correct as you go along. Okay. All right. So you don't want to give every single thing that you do, every duty that you have within a job, just a general beginning kind of overview of what you do. You want to use strong verbs: welcome, assess, deliver, if you notice some strong verbs there. And kind of an overview. What the work duties will do in an interview, it will actually be the starting place for a deeper conversation about what you did in that job. So I'm going to give just one work experience example, and then I save my work, and then I can actually add other experiences. So maybe I have also worked at other restaurants, or even volunteer experience as well. Okay, so I'm going to go on to my next section. I'm going to save. And now you can see I have 2 sections completed. They are grayed out and they are ready to be edited if I need to. The next section is the education. So many of our adult education students are spread out all over the state. So I'm going to use the one right here in my hometown, West area. Again, you notice this is a fillable form: adult, school, and I can choose here. I might want to choose GED or leave it blank. I might want to choose GED. Once that is completed, I'm going to go ahead and select it here. You will leave majors blank. This would be for post-secondary institutions, such as a state college or a university. My start date here, I'm going to choose December of 2019. Okay, I'm still enrolled, so I'm going to choose still enrolled. And then I save that section. That's all there is to it. And again, if you go up to the top, you notice it is grayed out and it is ready to be edited. I'm skipping the skills section, and I'll tell you why. Because the skills section is used for the functional resume. But although I'm not going to add skills, I will share with you what it looks like. So here, and it does recommend that this is really not used for a chronological resume, but used for a functional. But an example might be technology or collaboration. And then you could go into a detail about your collaboration skills here. But again, we're leaving this blank because we are not building a functional resume. So I go back up, and then we have certifications. Let's just say this person actually does have a certification. This person has a certification in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And in that world, people know that as HVAC. Okay. Many of these students in high schools are receiving these certifications through Certiport, but it could be whatever is the authority in that person's case. If there is a license number, you would want to put that license number. If there is a URL, you might want to put the URL if it's available. And then the start date here, we would say, let's say I earned that in June of 2018. And let's say it will expire in June of 2028. Maybe it's a 10-year certification. Okay, and then I would save it. All right, moving right along to the next section, and look how this is just growing and developing. All right, languages. What I'd like to say about languages is if you are working with people who speak English as a second language or are fluent in other languages, have them put their language here. So if a person is fluent in Spanish, they would note it here and then their proficiency level. So you've got these choices of proficiency level. And then save the language. So now I've added Spanish. These languages are so important because they're such an asset to have on any resume, especially in the state of Florida. All right, here's honors and awards. Now, not everyone may actually have something to put in each section, but I wanted to show you as we demonstrate how to build this resume. So for the title, let's see, this person has earned an award. They are Volunteer of the Year. And the organization would be Kiwanis International. Now, what I want to show you here, if there is a URL, and there, I believe there is, it is probably the Kiwanis, I'm sorry. I would find that URL and then we would select the country, and that would be the United States. I'll show you what we're doing in just a second. And then the award date, let's say I earned that in May of last year. Okay, so what I'd like to show you here for the description, what we recommend if it's something that, if it's awarded by some organization that is known and has a website, what we tell people to do is go to that website. So I'm going to go there. And when you go to the website, what you can do is simply copy and paste their description. And paste it where it says award description. So now you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know that the grammar will be correct. So then I could also go back there, find that URL, and type that in here. And save it. There you go. All right. And the next section I could add is organization. This would be any club a person is part of, any kind of organization they serve or volunteer with. And my example was just Kiwanis, so I'll use that again. All right, and my position is maybe I'm just a member or I'm the secretary. My start date, just go back in time, decide when that would be. I am still a member, And I may not put anything, or if I serve as secretary or scholarship chairperson here, I might want to make some notes about those activities that I was involved in. Save the organization. Okay, so what you have here now is I have completed one part of each section. Now you can edit, as I've said before. The sections are gray. And then what happens is I can go down here to either add another section. I don't want to exit because I want to save it, very important, and hit save. When I do that, I can now, just one second, having a technical difficulty here. Okay, it's my preview is not showing up. So let me try to refresh. First of all, I'm using my technical skills, everyone. There we go. I had to refresh the page. So I'm going to go over here, and you can see this is the one that we just created. I go over here to preview. Now I can download it, I can print it, and I can copy it. But here I want you to see, I chose elegant, so you're going to see our elegant preview. And now I don't have to worry about any of that formatting. We do that for the user. And again, I only included one activity per section. So if I had 3 or 4 different work experiences, you would see that here. I do want to show you that if I change my, my style, I'm going to show you the preview of professional. So it changes the style, changes the font, but all the information is still there. Okay, so that is our resume builder. Now, what I'd like to show you is how it's connected. This is the last piece that I'll show you, how it's connected to the electronic portfolio in our system. So notice we just created the resume. It only took a few minutes. And then on the menu down here, I go to my electronic portfolio. And I click my electronic portfolio. And when I do that, I notice that I've got a URL. Now this is a URL that belongs to the user. It belongs to me, so I can share my electronic portfolio with that resume on it. I choose a color scheme. If I've ever built a website, I could include that here. If I have a LinkedIn built, I just plop in my URL here. Or if a person uses Twitter for professional reasons, they may want to plop in their Twitter. There's the photo. There's a summary. Now, you're about to see a preview of a different resume because this one is about career advising, but still it all works the same. I can choose which resume. Actually, I'm going to show you 2 resumes. Let's look at the one that we just built. Those are my references. And then I can upload documents. That was not our focus today, but we can upload documents in the system. I go to Save and Publish. And then I go to Preview. So this is an electronic portfolio of that resume that we just built. Now, you remember what we just built. So when I click on my resume, there it is, the same information from my resume, but now as part of my web page. I've got my references here that I built earlier and my portfolio. I can have up to 20 documents in that portfolio that supports my resume. So that's the preview. And I was just going to show you that if I wanted to toggle over to a different resume, in my portfolio, and you had multiple resumes, this is the one that is all about career advising. I go to preview. So you could have several different resumes in your system. And again, this one is a different one. It's a little bit more robust than the other, but I'd like to share it so you can see the potential. And again, those are the references and portfolio items. So the biggest thing I want you to take away from this when you have your MyCareerShines account is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create that resume 2 times. You build it 1 time, and then our system pulls it off of your resume, pulls all that data off, and allows the user to create their own web page after they create their resume. So at this time, I'm going to toggle back to June and hand over the webinar to June as we close out this webinar.
Maggie, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Before you leave us today, you'll see 3 short questions that will appear on your screen. You know that we always like to get your feedback, so take a few minutes, if you would, please, to answer these 3 short questions.
June, can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
I forgot to mention this. I'm going to be sending you additional resume building resources that you can share out to the group.
Thank you, Maggie. We have everyone's email address, so we'll do that. Okay, well, I hope that you can all join us. Thank you again, Maggie. Really, that was amazing. Thank you, and we hope that you'll join us for our next webinar, which is scheduled on May 6th. This webinar is going to be titled Being Aware of Mindfulness. So we're going to find out ways that we can incorporate this mindfulness and how it can benefit our students and ourselves really too. So we hope that you join us then, and please know that we're here to serve you. If there's anything we can do to support you during these crazy times, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're all in this together. Be safe, be well, and until next time, we'll see you on May 6th.